You want to do
Hello.
intro? Oh,
Sure. Why
yeah,
not?
go ahead.
Intros are important. Hello, my name's Vile, and hosting the stream today is Urtai, and we are about to cast the third and fourth place match of the Silver League Winter 2016 finals.
Oh, the Silver League Winter 2016 season, I think it's called,
Yeah,
or
really
something.
long-winded name. Dance, you need to come up with better names for these. You really do.
I'm pretty sure it's not. Well, maybe it is that. Who knows? I guess we'll see as soon as this thing starts on the VSN. In 8 minutes for us, pretty
Yeah.
much.
So for tonight, we're going to be going here in probably 3 to 4 minutes. We have Tomato Stealers versus Spaghetti Slappers. So all you really need is to get some meatballs in there, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, to be honest, though, just tomato sauce with spaghetti is pretty nice too.
yeah, well, you don't even need meatballs. Like if you're a vegetarian, just get some mixed vegetables in there, whatever you want.
I
Mix
mean,
it
you
up,
can
make
get
it
like
look
some
nice.
type of um, maybe I'm completely wrong, but some type of falafel. Do you believe it's made of chickpeas, right? I'm pretty sure it is. Hopefully.
I'm not a cook, so like me personally, well, I was a college student. Just simple, lazy approach. Just cook the pasta, cook some sauce, then just heat up some vegetables and other
Well,
stuff. And
why are we talking about? I mean, it's obvious because of the names, but still, it's just, yeah, not needed. Thanks. Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, I just noticed this. Let's see if we can actually get it up on screen here. Screen. Sorry, my horrible English today.
yeah, so the
This.
maps that will be getting played tonight is mine with Spaghetti Slapper starting on defense and Tomato Steelers being on attack. I'm 95% sure. Let me go and double check that. Yes. And then the next match, or the next map, sorry, will be Cliff. So we are in for what could possibly be a very fast, very entertaining night.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, quick match. Well, quick matches is. They're usually the more entertaining ones. I mean, it depends on the map also a decent amount. I'd say mine's is. There's a lot of things you can't see. Um,
Yep.
and as you can
It.
see on the screen with the sketch up, there is a lot of like interesting areas.
Oh
So
yes,
so
yes,
why don't
lots
you
of.
tell us about that, Pyro?
So basically, anything that's marked with a 1 will generally be used by the defense. Anything that's marked in a 2 will generally be used by the offense. Um, they're just starting their tank picking here, so just going to keep an eye on that, and then we'll get started here shortly. But as for the strats, like, what will happen is the defense, if the teams are going for a fight in the middle, they'll send some tanks up this side and some tanks over up to this side here. And I'm going to turn down that duration so they're not there forever. Then from the offensive side, if they're going up towards the hill, they'll send some tanks up in this area and they'll send some tanks here. You won't really see people sitting out in the middle here because there's no cover. So, yeah. And then that's if you're going over the fight over the hill. If a team tries to play it slow, they might leave a tank back up in here. Or what teams can try and do is go for the 1-2 approach, where they will come all the way down here, and they'll try and get some tanks down along here, some tanks along the space here, just to cap. They might have something back here playing off of this corner with a tank up here. They'll throw some tanks over on this island. And these guys here will be supporting tanks. Then the defense, they'll set up along here and here. Or what you might have is a team try swinging all the way around the east side, come on down. The defense will have generally a tank back here, and an area that the offense wants to take control of is this back corner here, because if there is a high DPM tank, or whatever, say a T-22 stuff in the back corner here, it can be a real pain to try and dig out unless you get really up close in his face. So the offense, if they do come down here, it's generally better for them to be aggressive, get at least 2 tanks over here, so that way they can win that 1v1 or whatever, and then they they control the crossfire onto this.
I mean, it's a hard tank to dig out. The one in the green one area.
Yep.
Because it's a very far cross, and the defending team has a lot of time to react.
Yeah. Now the lineups are coming on through, so we're looking pretty good. We're just waiting for.
Let me
Okay.
switch over to that then, so we can give
Yeah.
a
The
rest to
last lineup.
this kind of
Now.
clusterfuck of colors and areas.
Yes. No more of that. That like, you have to realize that Sorry, just doing a countdown.
What do we have to realize?
With the strat sketch there, how it's set up is like those are just areas that we are trying to make it easier for you to understand, being the viewer and stuff like that, and as you try to understand how the maps may play out. So
Important
right,
areas of the map, more or less.
yeah, or areas that you'll generally see tanks playing most of the time. So like those areas there, they don't necessarily mean anything other than us just trying to make it easier for you to understand. So yeah, I kind of forgot where I was going. I just got home from work and busy, and yeah, had to rush home, try and get all this sorted out. So
Looks like we're actually gonna have a decent early aggression here from
yep. Lineups wise,
Tomato
coming up
Steelers.
from the defense, we have a 113 Object 260, two 140s, two T22s, and the RU251. Coming up from the offense is the one T125, two 140s, one T22, two TVPs, and the RU251. And we are seeing Tomato Steelers from the offense. They're going for more of a two-line approach. They're trying to punish any tank that tries going up onto the hill here through the openings in the rocks up along the D4 area. But they didn't end up getting some of the lights, and Spaghetti Slappers were able to get some tanks up onto the hill without taking any real punishment there. So they're in a good defensive position now. They have majority of the map control. They can see if the offensive side, being Tomato Steelers, does any kind of rotation back up through the north. We are seeing them leave two tanks up here, right where I said that you'll generally see teams leave a tank or two. And right now they're just trying to slowly work their way through. But one thing that we kind of
Ham is
missed.
getting really caught on. He's getting tracked multiple times. Burned his kit,
Yeah.
tracked again, and just down.
Yeah, so he tried crossing over into the J1, K1 area. He got lit and then double tracked on his way across, and he got, well, destroyed. Killed, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, he's no more in a tank in that way.
Yeah, so right now it looks like just Tomato Steelers. They're trying to slow down their approach right now, just try and maybe work down some different angles, get some shots in. Maybe they're trying to see if Spaghetti Slappers will try and maybe be overly aggressive and trying to do some kind of fast rotation around the map in an attempt to maybe try and catch them out being split. At which point, Tomato Steelers can really punish them for it because they brought the two TVPs, so lots of burst damage.
I mean, it's still. Say, I mean, the game did not start good at all for Tomato Steelers. Down 3,500 hit points. They need to make use of those TVPs to do a lot of damage quick to whatever target they decide to go on here.
Yeah. I mean, right now they're also kind of down to the hole, being down like 3,000, assuming almost 4,000 hit points now, is like you really have to try and fight your way out of this with a lot of good trades. Like you can't just go in and take the brawl that you'll generally end up seeing on mines in a lot of these times, or a lot of these situations with this map. So they're gonna have to try and slow the pace of the game down even more, which already hasn't really worked out too well for them. And they're just gonna have to attempt to try and get some good trades and try and pick up a tank or two, just try and get themselves a window back into this game.
Yeah. I mean, they're even taking bad trades at the moment too, so that is, yeah, it is not looking good. I think they're trying to do the right thing here, though. It's just that the problem is that Spaghetti Slappers are controlling the hill at the moment, so any rotation you do on the map is actually going to be spotted. It looks like Spaghetti Slappers want to end this, though. They're actually pushing aggressively down the 4-5. It is scattered out by the RU. This might actually give Tomato Steelers a little bit of an... Well, be able to put out more damage onto Spaghetti Slappers than what they take in return. And as you can see, Baron is a really a one-shot for all the tanks at the moment, besides the RU.
Yep, now these two RUs, they're going to engage in a 1v1 here. Whoever actually ends up winning this fight will have really good control over the rest of the engagement. Just Team Leader Brock he's kind of already gone into this fight being down on hit points, so he was always at a disadvantage. But some good trades have gone out onto tech here, so he actually now has the HP lead in this little 1v1 that's going off here on this corner of the map.
Yeah. I
Now,
doubt though that if Brock gets down to a one shot, he's probably not going to peak that.
he's actually low enough now that he can be killed with a Hesh shell from the RU-251. But yeah, Tomato Stealers, they've really just kind of slowed it down. They've gotten themselves into decent little defensive positions so that way they can try and edge themselves some kind of opening back into this game. But the hill control that Spaghetti Slappers have right now with mines, hill is one of the most powerful things on this map. You get so much vision control, the enemy team can't really make any kind of push without you knowing about it almost immediately.
Yeah.
And then you get the high ground, you get to shoot down on everything. And it's, I mean, the longer you hold the hill, generally the better off you'll be throughout the match. Because you'll just generally end up getting better trades. But it looked like Tomato Stealer's trying to make a little push out here, trying to get some punishment with the TVP, but I don't think he actually ended up penning any of his shots, or he might have penned one.
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm completely blind, I guess. Either or.
Maybe both.
Maybe both. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, right now, Spaghetti Slappers, they're in such a really good position that they don't actually have to do anything. So they can honestly just sit back, and they should end up picking up this defensive round with 2 minutes left to go. So we're just trying to fill up the airwaves, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe entertaining.
They have almost 3 times as much XP. Tomato Steelers at the moment, so yeah, this is yeah. You cannot come back from this. Like at all.
One thing that you couldn't say this is for Tomato Steelers right now is this is kind of like giving themselves a free timeout because they can sit here and they can just slow down this match and then sit here and think about what they want to do on the next one, being their defensive or what they might want to do on the next offensive. Maybe something went wrong here. I mean, losing Sham in his 140 at the beginning of the game definitely was not a part of the plan. And if he had actually gotten down there, they probably would have been in good positions for getting good trades back out. But as soon as they lost that angle of fire that the 140 would have provided them, it just became a really disadvantageous. Or
yeah, I mean, it could have prompted something from Spaghetti Slappers too to basically push into whatever was left towards the 4-5 line. And the thing was though that Tomato Steelers only had the E5 in that corner, and he could easily back around and get help shots from the 1-2 line with all the minions that was sitting there. So, I mean, I guess their entire plan to some degree hinged on that 140 getting his way down all the way down the one line. But instead, he got dragged twice and he got killed. A little bit of damage wise here then. Destroyer actually picking up a nice 4.3k in his 113. Other than that, nothing, I guess, nothing really out of the ordinary.
Yep. I mean, if we can get over to the strat sketch.
Just 1 second. Yes.
I mean, basically what happened there was, I'll just show this because it's rather relevant to how the battle played out. The defense, being Spaghetti Slappers, they came up and they went for this orange one area here and the red one, and they went to put a tank on the hill. We had something up there, but strat sketch can be a little bit finicky at times, and it'll like to delete your markers that you may place on it. But other than that, good program. Now from the offense, coming out from Spaghetti Slappers, I'm just trying to also admin the room, make sure they're not doing any lineup changes. They went for 1-2 line play. They initially came out here because they can fire between the gap in the mountain here. If I down here, take that, not that, take that, and move it. There's little gaps here that they can sit there and fire shots up there, and they're trying to punish someone for trying to take the hill.
Yep.
Okay, just telling them they can start tank picking.
Admin, such a hassle.
Yes, trying to admin and then sit here also flipping between the strat sketch and stuff like that, it can be a pain. Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of restart there. What they did is they went for the 1-2 line, being Tomato Steelers, being the offense there. They left their tier 8 scout up here in A4 to try and control a different angle. So if Spaghetti Slappers were really aggressive up and through the north, then they could really punish it with the high DPM tank, just constantly shooting them in the sides. They left.
Are you blinking on the map at them? All right, never mind.
I wasn't there, but I was just explaining. And then they left 2 tanks here to just control his backside. Kind of wish that one went up a little bit farther, but that's nitpicking. And then they had their supporting tanks being up here in this yellow 2 area, and then they tried getting a tank all the way down here to this purple 2 area. So kind of just as we were explaining, the areas where the attackers like to go and where the defense likes to go. So it was just more like standard 1-2 line play. They tried getting a tank down here, they had supporting tanks here, and then they left some tanks up here, and they were just kind of initially slow play, try and get some good damage out, and then they were probably going to end up dumping one of the tanks up on a cap. And we just, when the 140 died here, they just put them off on the back feet because they weren't, or the back foot, and they weren't able to really get the angles that they were looking for with shots up onto this. So they just eventually kind of fell back a little bit, and they just ended up taking a little bit too much damage.
Well, they lost a tank. I mean, that is a pretty, yeah, a lot of damage. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a genius to understand what went wrong. I mean, losing a tank and not having any, or more or less 80% of the map is taken away, you can move around, and that usually means that you lose the battle. Not always, but I mean a good amount of the time. Let's see if they actually have been starting to. Have they actually picked anything yet, or?
No, they were asking me to switch the sides, which they still could have done the tank picks, and I knew to switch the sides. Just whatever.
You have to fuck something up, don't you?
Yeah,
if it isn't
I
forgetting
didn't flip
to
the sides
ready
right
up.
away. I didn't flip the sides right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of a standard 2-line approach coming out from Tomato Steelers with a standard hill control coming out from Spaghetti Slappers. Spaghetti Slappers got the punish on the 140, and then Tomato Steelers, they were just basically behind the tank, basically going down 2,000 hit points at the beginning of the game. That, and with the DPM they lost that the 140 was bringing, they couldn't go for the head-to-head fight anymore. They just had to back off, play it slow, try and work down some different angles, get some good damaging shots in or some good trades, and hopefully that would kind of generate them an opening back into this game, which it didn't. Spaghetti Slappers, they played a tight defense. They didn't really give up bad trades, or they weren't taking any bad trades, and they just they played a good game.
I mean, I don't really know what else we can talk about tank-wise. So maybe we should go back to our other topics about tomatoes, spaghettis, and how they actually mix well together.
Yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
yes, no.
so far from what we're seeing is we're going to be seeing a little bit of mines thrown in there, a little bit of cliffs. So we're always going to get something amazing out of that. I mean, you get something amazing out of tomatoes and spaghetti. So
I mean, think about it. I mean, you do usually mine. Well, you can mine salt. I mean, salt is kind of an integral part in kind of any cooking. I don't know if you can actually get anything from a cliff
out of a
though
cliff,
that is related to cooking.
there's I was gonna say there's like a cliff bar over here in North America, but it doesn't really count.
That
I
is
don't think
kind
they have
of
a spaghettis and tomatoes flavors. So
I don't know. I mean, I guess we can ask chat, but
we will know in 8 minutes.
yes, and then we
Because
will
there is the 8-minute
revisit
delay.
this topic again because reasons.
You'll have your answers, and we'll probably be out of this game because it has an 8-minute timer. As we are now into the next round, lineup coming from Spaghetti Slappers 1-1-13, Object 260, 2-1-40s, 2 T22s, RU-251s. So same lineup that they brought on defense, they're now bringing on the offense. And then as for Tomato Steelers, 1E5, 2-1-40s, T22, 2 TVPs, and RU-251. So same lineup again.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really interesting to see them both bringing the same lineup to both sides. That's generally not something you'll see.
I mean, that usually means that you have you sort of have something practiced on the map, and that you usually like this lineup from both sides, of course.
Yep.
So people know the different areas they should be going for.
Yep. Now it
And,
looks like both teams are going to be going for hill control over here at the start with both their scouts trying to work out the one line. So we'll see the RU from Spaghetti Slappers playing up more around the E1, and then the RU251. He's back in H1, but he could possibly end up pushing himself up onto the backside of F1 here at any point. So just depends how aggressive they want to play up on that side. Now some good exchanges coming out here. That looks like Spaghetti Slappers, they got the better end of that so far.
no? Tomato Steelers.
Yep.
Oh wait, no. Well, no, I didn't believe Tomato Steelers got the. Maybe not.
Well,
Well, that's kind of
better
weird.
HP
I mean, you have two TVPs sitting at the perfect bush there, and those shots on actually landing on those tanks, crossing and just going up onto the hill are really easy to land. So, kind of a little bit surprised that they did not get a track shot earlier. I mean, they had more or less 3 guns that could aim that way. But yeah, like you said, initial trade going for Tomato Steelers and then Spaghetti Slappers taking position, a little bit better positions, and then trading the HP back in their favor.
Yep. I mean, right now the game's kind of slowed down again. Both teams are in decently defensive positions. It can be difficult right now for Tomato Steelers to push up and try and take the hill or push up into this. They'll take a lot of damage going in. It just won't be a good time for them. And then it's also difficult for Spaghetti Slappers to be aggressive here, simply because if they do push in, they're going to get shot from so many different angles. They're going to bleed so much HP that they can really basically throw the game if they were to try to push in aggressively right now. So they're just trying to get a feeling for where Tomato Steelers have set up their tanks. They're probably going to have their RU trying to work.
I mean, it's
Another
not
part
working
of the
anything
map.
at the moment. I do not really understand why though, because I mean, it's a light
They
tank,
do.
so he cannot know. I mean, from the position he is in, he cannot get lit at all by moving up to this other bush, a little bit further up, and there's
No.
a much better position to sit
Well,
in.
that position is kind of predictable. I feel like, or I thought he was in a position to actually be lighting between the rocks here,
Yep.
over onto this corner, so the way they would basically know if the TVPs or last minute iron here and his TVP would try and rotate out. But yeah, now they're going to try and get something going. We're 3 minutes into the game right now, and that leaves 5 minutes for them to try and come up with some kind of answer to the puzzle that Tomato Steelers has set up for them.
Yep. It is actually looking like Tomato Steelers are acting, as you can see on the minimap, fairly good to this move by Spaghetti Slappers. They're actually moving a little bit more forces over towards the east side here with the 140 plus the TVP back here. So I think if Spaghetti Slappers tried to do this move by pushing down the east, I think it won't go out very well for them. They are actually trying to do it. They're pushing with the 260 and the 2 140s.
Yeah, they're kind of holding up a little bit. I feel like they're actually going to try using this one cap here. It's not a cap that you generally end up seeing a lot of play out of, just because it's not really in the best position. If a team is doing a much harder 1-2 line defense, then the one cap becomes more viable because you can really pull the enemy team back into you. But with the angles that Spaghetti Slappers have, or not Spaghetti Slappers, but Tomato Steelers have right now, getting that spaghetti and that pasta mixed up. So
I mean, I don't understand this. The problem with this is they only have 2 people onto the hill. Tomato Steelers can, if they know this, just push these 4 people that's sitting over here up onto the hill without Spaghetti Slappers being able to really react to it at all.
yeah, and then the cap is basically irrelevant because you have hill control. And
yeah.
Here comes the push out onto the hill right now, so...
Yep. Well, it gets scattered by the RU though, so they know it's coming.
Yeah, but they don't have enough tanks. Like, they have the one tank up on the hill. He's... Actually, well, they have 2, but the other one was basically dead as soon as they pushed up there because of where he was sitting.
Yeah. Looks like they're going to try and get a block here though, and they will focus the law out for as much as they can. Good thing here though is that they have an E5 up on the hill, and he should have no issues poking over every time he has a shell and actually landing on on whoever has the cap points.
Yep. I mean, I feel like what you may have noticed on the minimap there was the RU251 from Spade Eddie Slappers was sitting up in A4 instead of actually trying to work down his side of the map, and I feel really gave up a bit of map control there to the other RU, which was able to get it. Is now slowly working his way up and behind, so it didn't have as big of an effect as what I thought it would end up having, but I feel like they could have been using both their tier 8 scouts coming up from both teams a little bit more effectively within this game. But yeah, I mean, once you lose up this hill control, this one cap here, it's basically non-existent. And if you want to sit here and try and put pressure onto the one cap, that means you don't, like, however many tanks you have on the one cap here, plus however many tanks you have in these back buildings trying to work down the angles on any of the defenders as they try to reset, that means you don't have those tanks up on the hill. So if the enemy team were to then just take 5 tanks, push up onto the hill, well, they win that fight. Like, there's nothing you can really do about it. They've got the overmatch, and that's it.
Yeah. I mean, Astrobab are pushing in, taking out those 2 tanks. I mean, they got the HP to spare, so it doesn't really matter too much. Yeah, I mean, this game going for 2 minutes still is just due left on Spaghetti Slappers at the moment. Is Object 260.
Yeah. He has himself kind of in a decent position here, although Astro should end up taking the kill.
Yeah. Let's have a quick peek at the damage output from people then. Kind of not surprisingly, TVPs having the most damage. That's kind of what you get with burst tanks that are allowed to empty their clips multiple times. Even if you miss a couple of shells, you're gonna get out a decent amount of damage out of them.
Yep.
And I guess we can do a stretch sketch.
Yeah, I mean,
A
there's not
little
necessarily
bit quick.
too much to talk about there. Like, the biggest thing we can sit here and talk about how is, I'm just going to flip it over to the other one, is if, let me just, I just have to do quick admin stuff here. Okay.
What? Yeah, I mean,
I'm just adminning here quickly.
oh,
So.
well, you can say that so I can pick up on
Yeah,
that. So
I did.
so we don't have any. I mean, we always have that time, but because sometimes you don't even have to
Yeah. Oh,
speak
I was
of
just
what
going to
actually
say
happens. But
that if you do something like this, and then you'll see the tier 8 scout up here, rough tank icons doesn't necessarily matter too much, but I mean, all the defense really has to do, and then say they have their scout over here. Like, is that 5? No, that's 5. And then just
I
make that
mean,
one more readable.
the problem with one cap is twofold. You need to have control of the hill to be able to use it, because if the enemy has control of the hill, there is no way you can hide on one cap from like any
Yep.
position. The problem is then how many tanks you actually put on the hill to be able to defend it. If you put too many tanks on hill, the enemy can just sit below the hill and reset from that angle too, basically from, let's see if I can do a ping here. They can sit here and reset basically these tanks sitting here. I think the only way you can do it is hide one tank behind another, which of course you do not want to do. You want to lose at tier 10 or
Well, I mean,
tier
you
8
can't
even.
really do that because of the height advantage that the hill gives you. And you basically have to bring a type 5 or type 4, and then again,
No, I
it's
was talking about
still.
if you actually put more control on the hill and then put one or, well, maybe 2 or 3 tanks down below, and then basically hide them behind a rock, and you have control of the hill, and you know the enemy can take it from you. The
Yeah,
problem
but
is that you
then.
can reset it from here, but that means that you have to sacrifice a tank, so they cannot reset from this angle.
Yeah, I mean, like, to say the problem is you have to. They're going to be ready here any second.
I guess we don't really have to go over too much.
Just let me add something.
Right? What
Okay.
was it?
I was just gonna say, like, you have to have, I would say, at least one tank somewhere back up in here, so that way they can try and punish someone for poking you on this side here. Because if you have like 1 or 2 tanks here, they put the shots in or whatever, and like he'll get 1 or 2 resets, but then like he can't poke out from there anymore.
Yeah, we can rotate
But if you
another
don't
for
have
another
enough
tank
tanks
though.
supporting this one cap, I was gonna say if you don't have enough tanks here supporting this one cap, then they can just push up through these buildings and take this tank here, and it just becomes a problem. Like, well, you need tanks over here, and then you need to put enough tanks on cap so you're actually pressuring the cap. But then it's like you can't have enough tanks up on the hill, and it just becomes a bad day. So that's why cap 1 doesn't necessarily see that much play, and it's just all more or less cap 2.
Or
Yeah,
if
like
there
it's just
is,
not.
I don't know if there. I mean, preferably you don't want one captain on this map at all. You just want to get an overmatch somewhere on the map and I just push your advantage.
Okay, so we're gonna go in here to this next battle. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean that's something we didn't necessarily cover on too much in the beginning. Is the caps. Like the one cap is kind of useless simply because of how it's located and how the
I
map
mean,
plays out around it, like with map control and stuff like that for controlling different angles. So like one cap, you won't really see that many or that much play coming out from it, and it's more or less two
both
cap
caps
on
are
this
really
map.
hot on this map.
Yep.
I mean, that's an issue. Anyway, so a tiny bit of different tank. Well, from one team at least, a little bit of different tank lineup. And that's from Tomato Steelers. Bringing a little bit more of
Yeah.
a heavy
I mean,
lineup
we can
this time
almost.
around.
Okay. Any guesses? Any betters, takers on what Blade Ace Slapper's lineup is? Well, you would win if you would say that it's the exact same as before with 113, 1 Object 260, 2 140s, 2 T22s, and RU251. I wonder if we'll see it again next time. If I was a betting man, I'd say it's probably a safe bet.
Yeah, I mean,
Coming up from the offensive side is 1 I7, 1 E5, 2 T22s, 2 TVPs, and a 1390.
yeah, I mean, I'd say this is a way better strat coming up from Tomato Steelers with the IS-7 most likely putting himself on camp here. He's a hard pan from any angle. I mean, you can reset it by pushing your tank up on this little hill here and having a tank with decent enough depression to shoot down on the 7. Probably going to take a lot of punishment for that, though, because of the 2 TVPs on Tomato Steelers.
Yep.
So we'll see how Spaghetti Slappers solves this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually really interesting right now. I was going to just comment on the addition of Tech being where he is. He's kind of in a rather interesting spot, but may or may not work out for him right now.
Well, I
But
mean,
yeah,
he's not really doing too much, I'd say.
he's just more sitting himself back in the bush, trying to not get lit, so that way they can just throw him on to the cap there at the last second and really force some kind of reaction. I mean, the reaction's already coming out. We didn't get much time to cover what both teams were doing, but the reaction's already come out through the north here from Spaghetti Slappers. They pushed 140 or 2 140s and a T22 up in here through the north, but they're caught between Astro and Dogman. So Astro's going to get a lot of damage off in the back here if he's able to reclip multiple times. And
Looks like
Dogman.
Astra is going to go down here, though, most likely. No. Okay. It's only going one shot. Still, I mean, if he just hides over there, they always need to. Okay, never mind. He doesn't manage to do that.
Yeah, he was gonna go down. There's probably like one safe area for him to put himself into, but he didn't end up backing into it. So the cap here, because Spaghetti Slappers now hold B2, the cap is almost non-existent because there's no safe place. The blind shots can come on out, and you'll just get the shot in the ass a bunch of times. Now we are seeing SM. He's gonna push up in here and try and track down this RU from Spaghetti Slappers. Almost forgot the name.
Yeah, Spaghetti. Ori is
I was
running,
going to call him tomato seeds. I'm getting spaghetti and tomato mixed up. I think
mean,
I'm just thinking of food, and I just think they're the
I
same
mean,
team.
you can call them Tomato Slappers and Spaghetti Stealers, right? I mean, it kind of works both names.
Yep.
Right? Yep.
Now, the cap coming out from Tech, he's trying to place himself so far on the backside of this cap circle that way he cannot be lit by the likes of Oni-chan and Barren Wasteland in their T22s and 140s all up in the north. With how Tomato Steelers now have control down in K4, K5, they can get nice, easy shots up into any tanks from, say, Spaghetti Slappers who are trying to be over here, proxy light the cap. They'll end up bleeding a fair bit of hit points to the tank in the south. Now, we are going to see Maury's. Some interesting names coming out from some of these players. He's going to be rotating all the way down the 9 line, coming up in behind. But they need to get some kind of reset coming out here. They've got 10 seconds left on cap. One reset does come out, but the tank that does need to get reset right now is the 1390. 113 is going to come up. He's going to end up lighting him. So the reset shot should come out on tech, but some damage should start going over to over in Destroyer's way. Yeah, speaking is hard.
Yeah. Looks like Destroyer jumps down though. He's gonna get punished for this. I mean, he's most likely just gonna go down here. Just
Yep. He got the
burning
reset on the
time.
tank that needed it, but I don't know if it was really worth it. I mean, Spaghetti Slappers, they are kind of in a bad situation right now. They're down on hit points, with Morius having majority of their HP, 2,000 of it, or rather 1,900 of it, all the way up in the north, and he has to sit here and try and do a 1v1 with S-Ham and his T22.
Yeah. Does kind of look, unless Spaghetti Slappers can get really good resets here without losing too much up, and it does look like this one is actually going to go towards Tomato Steelers. They're even pushing
Ooh.
up this this TVP last minute to take out Baron here, which you should,
Yeah.
no issues doing.
It was a good play there because they had, say, assumed that Dooman in his Object 260 would have pushed up in some kind of way to get vision on these tanks up here, so that means he'd be pushing across and he wouldn't be able to light him as he would push up for the kill there. So good little decision making there for identifying blind spots of enemies where they don't have vision, and then using that to quickly get up on your opponent, get the kill, and basically deny your opponent from ever getting a reset. So really nice attack strat coming up from Tomato Steelers there. They played it really well. And yeah, I don't know,
Yeah,
not much to really complain about from them there.
I mean, maybe a little bit more anticipation of Spaghetti Slappers pushing in the north. Is the only thing I guess you can say. Just giving a little bit more punish on that initial push from Spaghetti Slappers, because that's the normal thing you actually do. Damage-wise, I mean, two people doing more than their fair share of damage, one on each side. Other than that, nothing special again. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, once again, we saw Tomato Steelers going for that 1-2 line control. They did a fair bit better this time. I'd say the only problem really being, I believe it was Astro Bubba in his TVP who had himself kind of in a bad position. They were like, basically, he could have been like 5 meters more to the right or 5 meters behind him where there was another rock, and he would have ended up being safe. But because he kind of sat in the middle between all the rocks, he kind of just had equally crappy cover. And then, other than that, they played it pretty well. They got the angles. When Spaghetti Slappers, to say, I think they were a bit over aggressive with their reaction there. They probably could have ended up slow playing a little bit, getting another tank down towards K4, identified where the offense had set up their tanks, because they were in a pretty good position to sit there and try and punish them for doing that north rotation when they did. Like, they were even set up for punishing it heavily in the first offense they did.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, with that, Tomato Steelers should get a little bit of an advantage on this map. I mean, they are on the defense. The defense, depending on how comfortable teams are on the map, has a tiny, tiny bit of an advantage, I'd say, on this side, because you can just sit and wait for the enemy most of the time.
Okay, and thinking one person's just logging back in. We've been waiting for them to come back in. Yeah, I'm just pulling up the statistics here from the Gold League, and actually, yeah, well, with Gold League, it's actually the attacking team that has the better win rate right now, with almost 55%, with the defense basically losing 45% of the time. So it's interesting. It would be interesting to see how it transitions into some of the lower skill levels. I mean, Mines, it's one of those more balanced maps, so it's not as likely to be more skewed to one side or the other based on player skill. So
yeah, I
it
mean,
can
it
really
depends
go
on how
either
you
way.
want to play it. I would say in Gold League, you usually see a little bit more aggressive with rotations and earlier rotations than what we've been seeing from the Silver League teams. And that definitely helps on this map, I'd say. if you can get advantage by rotating around your enemy, I mean, you're looking fairly good.
Yep.
Specifically on mines, because there's, I mean, from certain positions on the map, you can almost shoot the entire map or over the entire map and just get crossfires. And yeah, enemies tend to melt them.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to give suggestions as to what Spaghetti Slappers could have tried doing in that situation, is if they would have probably taken a little bit more time to try and gather some information, they would have seen that they would have had the E5 there. They would have seen that the TVP was probably up in A4. And then I mean, in that situation, if they have a tank up there, that's almost pretty much denying the. Sorry, just double checking.
What do you mean the
The,
northern approach?
the
I
tanking.
mean, I don't think. I mean, the TVP did at least a decent amount of damage. I think you should have played it a little bit more passive though. Possibly try to get a little bit of a better position and then reveal themselves later when they know they were crossing. So basically becomes a, oh shit, there's a TVP behind us. What do we do? We can't push him because the enemy's just gonna shred us
Yep.
from behind them. So you
I
kind
was
of
gonna
come
say,
into this thing is that then you're kind of forced to actually push into the main force that Tomato still is brought down in the camp area.
yep. I mean, I was gonna say that the rotation that they probably should have done there is they probably should have just taken 2 tanks, 2 T-22s down here through the south, came out to the island, just taken up these rocks.
Oh,
Because 2 tanks, they can really bully out the 1 tank. That was, or it was 2 T-22s that were there, so they would have
yeah.
actually ended up having to send 3 across.
I mean, the problem is,
And
well, it's not up. I don't show. I'm not showing strike scans at the moment.
oh,
Uh,
okay,
the
doesn't
problem is
matter.
still that even if they push the south, I mean, you're gonna have at least 4 people, maybe 5, that can actually push pull their guns over there. I mean, so no matter really where you push, you're gonna have issues, to say the
Yep.
least. So that's why why both, well, Myra said that you probably want to gather a tiny bit more information before
Yep.
you do anything.
So, if there are any betters out there as to what Spaghetti Slappers lineup would have been,
I
and you
mean,
would have guessed the
surprise,
exact same
surprise.
thing, you would have won because it's 113. One object 260, 140s, T22 medium, and RU251. And then once again, same lineup coming out from Tomato Stealers with the 1E5, 140s, T22, 2 TVPs, and RU251. So other than the one change up they did last game, they would have brought the same lineup 3 times in a row.
Yep.
Yeah, so now we have Spaghetti Slappers on the offense with Tomato Stealers on the defense. Tomato Stealers being up 2-1. And if they're able to pick up this defense, that means they'll be going into Cliff with a 3-1 advantage over Spaghetti Slappers.
Yeah, I mean, do we know who picked this map? If it was Tomato Stealers?
Tomato Stealers picked this map, and then Spaghetti Slappers picked Cliff.
All right then.
I don't know how the bans
openings
went,
from
but
both teams here. Let's see if this TVPs can be a little bit more. Yeah,
well, so far they've done slightly better punish on Barren Wasteland, with only taking 1 shot in return.
Yeah, I mean, oh, punish from the RU up on the island, or get it scattered and punished back from the other RU. He's taking a lot of damage.
It's the path Astro tried taking out there, taking out of there. It wasn't really the best one, so he did take some damage in turn, but they also got some damage back out onto Gym Leader Brock and the RU251. But he's now down to 400 hit points, so you took about 800 hit points off a tier 8, but you ended up losing basically 1400 hit points on a tier 10, so.
Yeah, I mean, damage-wise, equal trades, but being able to two-shot at tier 10 is way more valuable than being able to one-shot at tier 8.
Yep. Now Tech, realizing that he has an advantage over on this one line here, he's going to go in and he's going to try and finish off Gym Leader Brock this time because he's on full health, whereas Gym Leader Brock's a 2-shot for him. So with the trades going on in the middle, let's see if Spaghetti Slappers will identify that Tech is over here and if they'll punish
Yep,
him enough
they
so that
see
way
him.
Brock
I
can
mean,
win that fight.
I'm pretty sure the Tech got lit from Dew up on
yeah,
4 line
he
over
shot
there.
Dew in the side, and that's what ended up lighting him.
I mean, as an RU, I'm pretty sure you would not expect to actually penetrate the 260 shooting from an angle or shooting from below up onto even his side. you're most likely shooting with heat also. So
It all just, if the shell goes straight, then you can probably get it where you want it to go. But
you
if
see a
the
tiny
shell
bit of
goes
a
off
counter
on
push
any
though
little
coming out
angle.
from on the island.
Yep.
Spaghetti is bringing Baron up here. And it's
Uh,
T22.
They identified that they have 2 tanks off in the back, TVP and 140 all the way in the back for Tomato Stealers, and that means that if Tomato Stealers were to try and be aggressive, it would take them an extended period of time to try and get up in there and punish you for being slightly more separated like this. So they brought Baron Wasteland over to help out Gym Leader Brock and trying to secure this one line. But so far they haven't really been able to gain much ground because of where the mediums are located for Spaghetti Slappers, or not for Spaghetti Slappers, but for Tomato Stealers. They're in a good position to try and punish any really aggressive play coming out down this one line right now.
I mean, it is more or less a stalemate at the moment.
Yep.
This map, any stalemate usually helps the defending side. I mean, Spaghetti Slappers at the moment don't really have that much control over the map, so they can start exerting, well, like we're talking about before, capping on this map is really, really troublesome. But the problem is that they don't have enough either vision or control of the map to be able to even rotate their tanks. It seems like they want to try and do something here, though. They most
Yeah.
likely are going to push down 1-2 line with those
The pings are
two
coming
mediums.
out, and the rotation is happening as Spaghetti Slappers. They're going to try and get this 2-cap underway. They've got 4 minutes left on the clock to sit here and try and get the victory out, or equalize the score. They need to win this attacking round here if they want to go on to Cliff with equal footing. So it'll be interesting to see how prepared Tomato Steelers are for trying to punish this push that's going to come down the one line here.
I mean, they have at least a couple of things that can put the guns.
Yep.
They will scatter early, though, because the tank sitting up.
I think
It's actually backing off.
Doomman and Destroyer were lit because they were shooting up by tech. So if they know that, yeah, they were lit. So the counter push is coming up onto the hill. They're going to come up here, look for any kills, but they're not going to find anything. So if Spaghetti Slappers go right now with their mediums, they can get across without being punished at all. They're so close. If they would have been having, I mean, they're still going to get away with it, but if they would have had this push going like 15 seconds, 10 seconds sooner, they would really have gotten across for almost nothing, because now they're starting to turn their tanks back around. They're going to start looking at these angles.
Taking a tiny bit of damage though for the cross. Nothing too major, but...
And Baron Wasteland stopping. Oh no, he was tracked.
He is tracked. He's probably going to go down here.
Yeah.
I mean, yet again though, damage trades are fairly similar. Let's see how Tomato Stealers does with this. See how they try to solve this.
Yeah, well, similar setup before. They've got the 2 tanks down here in K1. They've got the RU-251 supporting from the E1 area with 2 tanks on cap, and then the 1 tank all the way up in the north there, which is Morius. And he's actually going to get the punish here onto the law, but can he get enough punish on the law? I was thinking about some kind of law joke, but couldn't come up with it.
Well, actually, it does look decent for Tomato Stealers. They got a reset, sacrificing a tank for doing so. But
yep.
they
Morius
have a fairly good position at the moment with all the mediums in the north here that can actually get shots onto the cap and onto the capping tanks without being punished too much, besides from the tanks that are actually sitting on cap. Maybe took a tiny bit too much damage coming into this though. But
I think the positional advantages were very much worth the damage they ended up taking, because they ended up getting Morius. If he had actually stayed up there maybe a little bit longer, he would have gotten, or he would have been in a fantastic position, because they would have to basically turn the tanks 180 degrees in the opposite direction and go up for the punish. But Spaghetti Slappers, they put all their HP down towards the south a little bit more, so they probably should have left something a little bit more up in the north, because now they hold the better angles, and that being Tomato Stealers. So this cap, it's basically non-existent. They got the kill onto the Doomin and the 260 here, and they're going to end up pushing Oni off the island here.
they're gonna move than that. They're probably gonna kill me with the TP and
Yeah.
last.
Well, I mean, there's 45 seconds left on the clock, so this will be going into Tomato Steelers' pocket right now, this last win. So they will have the advantage going into Cliff, which can be pretty big.
Yep. It depends. Like I said, this was Tomato Steelers map, so you would expect them to possibly be a tiny bit better, or have. I mean, every team should have decent strats on all the maps. But if you're picking the map, you at least feel more comfortable on it than you do some other maps.
Yep. But I mean, right now we're just really waiting for them to finish up Destroyer here in his 113. E5, he's going to dive off on the last second there. Tried to get the last second Goomba, a little bit too late.
Yeah, I mean, they really need to practice that because there's a possibility for one of these teams to be in the Gold League next season. And I mean, farming for fantasy points is a big part of playing in the Gold League, I'd say.
We should talk with Hypnotic about there being some kind of bonus for getting a Goomba, but right now there's style points. You get brownie points, points that don't matter. They matter in your heart, but they don't matter on paper.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, so Spaghetti Snapper starting on attack.
Yeah, damage-wise, I mean TVP again on top, not too surprising. Not too surprising of the 113 either being on the top. Whiskey Dude, Whiskey Dude, actually putting out a decent amount of damage in his 140 also. Other than that, it was nothing really surprising. Astro Baba getting not that many. Oh, that is. I have no idea. That is kind of 12 shots, only 3 pans. He must have been shooting something. Either it was the tracker of the tank or something. And shooting heat. Most likely. That's the premium ammo for the tank. Maybe you should even, if you know you're shooting a track or the side of a Russian tank, maybe you should even just load the standard ammo in APSR and try to span him frontally. You can get any of those shots. Yeah. Next map, Cliff. Do we want to go to Start Sketch for this?
Yeah, we can. I'm just trying to. Okay, both teams have agreed, or well, actually, one team typed yes twice, so I thought both teams had agreed, but we're waiting. We might end up taking a little 5-minute break here, just from the action. Let both teams maybe have a little bit of a break, go over prep for the next map.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a nice little benefit that won't really get once they get into Gold League. So really nice.
Apparently, they want matches all the time.
Okay, so they did both agree. So we're gonna be doing a 5-minute little break here. I mean, nice maps, Cliff. So both these teams are going to be using the Washington Dune, whatever. Cliff, it's a very straightforward map, really. For the most part, you're going to see both teams going up towards the middle, with the defensive side taking the one side of the map, and then the offensive side taking the two side. With the two more.
I'm guessing you're saying the map usually becomes split in half between the north and the south.
Yep.
I mean, anyone that has played tanks and played this map, I mean that's even the standard usually in pubs. But then you have the awesome ones sometimes when half your team just basically sits on 1-2 line in the buildings and houses and just waits for the enemy. You know, kind of unnecessary because usually no one pushes that way. And I mean, no one really does that either on a competitive, I'd say. I mean, you see sometimes teams going, but their objective is not going towards the Wonka. Their objective is going and taking the Edinburgh west side on the hill plateau, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Just clarifying something in chat here, so I missed exactly what you're commenting on.
I'm just commenting on 1-2 line and how kind of worthless it is most of the time. And then on pubbies that goes and sit down there and yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between pub play and competitive play, and any kind of competitive play, like even Clan Wars. if you're a team that comes down here and then takes this low side without taking any of the high ground, the enemy team just takes the high ground, and then it just turns into a bad day for you because they control all the engagements, and you just kind of sit there doing something. All I know is it's not winning, or it shouldn't be winning. If you somehow winning and you're on the low ground sitting down in this, like, I will give you a round of applause. I can't think of any way of how you can really do it without other team just being bad. But yeah, like
I mean, we
it
don't
can
expect
work.
any team here to be bad. I mean,
Well, no,
not that bad. Hopefully, you never know.
no. But yeah, so defensive side, they take the one side, the one little markers here. How it basically works here in Cliff is generally if like both teams go to the middle, both teams start brawling it out. If one team sits here and spreads out their tanks between like all three areas, say they'll stick 2 tanks in the one, 2 tanks in this one, and then say like 3 tanks here, or the tier 8 might be down doing something over the 1-2 line, trying to get some flank or something like that. They really open themselves up for the enemy team just pushing right through one of these areas, being in a group, and uh, they just get a quick overmatch because you've committed to like all 3 different areas. Like, it can be a really difficult map to learn. Like, there's so many little different angles and stuff like that up in this hill. It can make it it's a very complex fight. For instance, how it works is the pink area can suppress the orange area. The orange area struggles to fight against the blue area, and then the blue area can get shots up into the purple area without really being punished because the purple area, like, their tanks can't really get enough gun depression to shoot down into the blue
Dep-
area
well,
very
yeah,
effectively.
depends on the tank though. But
Yeah.
so, I mean, that's
Yeah, I
usually
mean,
the three tactical ways you can play this.
oh, there's some stuff on there. Let me just clear that. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at it, there's like a hill here that everything fights over. It sticks out around this way. And basically, if you commit your tanks right around here, which if you look at those pings, that was like the orange 1 area, then you got like a little bit of an arcing hill here that can make it difficult for putting shots back out into this area here. And then even for the south side, if you were to push down into this side here, any tanks that come out this way, because there's a hill that shoots down along this way here, you can't really get shots back into it. So if you split yourself up a little bit too much, you can find yourself in trouble. Teams can play defensively by putting tanks either back in the buildings here or back in the rocks here, some of in the buildings. The 2 other squares here that have been really commented on is the blue square, which is where a team will set up if they go for a 1-2 line approach to it. It's not as common because you give up a lot of map control, and you kind of have to fight for every little advantage back. I mean, you can make it work just because you can cause the enemy team to really spread out if they want to try and punish you, and then you can try and take an overmatch like that. But it allows you to get some good angles, but then you don't necessarily have fantastic map control for controlling where the enemy team's going to be, where your shots are, and stuff like that. So you kind of start a little bit down. And then another thing that the defense will do is they can play rather defensively up in this green block here, with having tanks here, tank back here, maybe someone watching this corner, someone being up in the purple 1 area, pink 1, and that's the 5-minute alarm. So
Yay,
yeah.
alarm. And maybe we can get this going then. Yeah, Spaghettis need to pick up three wins here on of the four, of course. This was their choice. So hopefully, like I said before, for Tomato Steel is Spaghettis Lab actually should be more comfortable on this map because they picked it. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
so yeah, I mean,
that's what you
yeah, that's what you expect. But hopefully, it's going to be a close one. What is the tiebreaker map? Um,
the tiebreaker, I think it might be mines again.
oh
Funny
Jesus!
enough. It
Well,
is. It is mines. So we could be going back to mines. Um,
I mean, I'd say then Tomato Steel is. I mean, they said him somewhat pretty then.
yeah. So they're gonna start the tank picking. I'll be right back. So just keep the show going for like 30 seconds, a minute. I have to quickly take care of something.
All right, then are they fine for picking or? Oh, well, I guess it's already gone. I guess we'll see and wait here and see if we can actually see any tanks picked. Which doesn't seem to be the case at the moment.
Okay, I'm back.
Yes, the loud noise in the beginning.
Yeah.
Kind of gave it away. Well, not loud. I don't know. You're pulling off your my ears, unmuting mic, whatever.
Oh no,
So,
voice activation. I just pick it up and yeah.
right.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the kind of forget where I was, but I was just gonna say, the meta of metas for Cliff is basically everyone goes to the middle. If you try and take a more defensive approach with the green, it doesn't necessarily work out too well. There's just so many different angles that the offense can use for trying to break it. But what the defense can do is you basically place a puzzle before the enemy team. It all depends upon where you stack up your tanks. There's a few little positions you can change up and stuff like that that can allow you to have better punishment on certain areas if the offense tries using them to break your defense. But it's generally not as good because if the offensive team knows how to get the vision, the different angles they have to use, they will sit there and they will always break, and you kind of can't up in the green square here. And if you go on the blue side, it really
no stress.
sorry.
I'm just showing the in game
Oh,
at the moment. No stress sketch. We had
oh,
enough of that.
okay.
We talked a decent amount about it. I mean, the town pickings, we're seeing 2 heavies from one team and at least 1 heavy so far from the other.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, the 113 I'd say is okay because it's fairly quick. I have no idea about the 260 though. If Tomato Steel is placed aggressive here, they might actually catch the 260 out a little bit and be able to put damage into him without Spaghetti Slappers being able to respond, depending on, of course, where Spaghetti Slappers are thinking about going with the lineup. And talking
Yep.
about
I mean,
lineups, what do we actually have for lineups?
once again, Spaghetti Slappers. If you were to bet that they were going to bring the same lineup that they brought on Mines, you'd almost be right. With them bringing 113, one object 260, 2 STBs, 2 T22s, and 1 RU251. So instead of 2 140s, they're bringing 2 STBs. And then from Tomato Steelers on the opposite side, they have the 1 113, 2 140s, 1 T22, 2 TVPs, and RU251.
Yeah, very
So,
similar. I mean, it kind of seems like these lineups are basically the brawl lineups to a certain degree.
yep. Well, I mean, when you bring more heavy tanks like this, like Spaghetti Slappers is doing, you're probably not going to the middle of the map for the brawl. So they're going to be heading over to this 2-line here in order to set up and go for a slow play, try and get up here, take this area. If you like half commit tanks here and the enemy team commits full like all their tanks, then you end up losing the game. So if you're going to commit over here, you either need to commit very little or you need to commit a lot. It's one of those all like you go slightly in or you go all in. So they're going to go all in. They're going to come up here. They're going to get this map control. I think they are lit, so they know tech is there.
Yeah, not
It will
landing
just
any
be
shots
if
at
they
the
can.
moment.
Yeah, they're not landing any shots, but they're already coming up over to the top here, and they are trying to get some punish here on these first tanks that are trying to poke up.
Yeah, I mean, Tomato Steelers have more or less all the tanks here. They're bouncing on this 113 though. I mean, he's a fairly good angle to actually take this fight. From the positioning at the moment, I'd say that Tomato Steelers actually needs to back off from this. Specifically when they're having last down towards the bottom here in his TVP, so they have a decent amount less firepower that they can bring.
I mean, they already know the last minute iron fell down, and they are going for the punish here onto the fight because they know that they have a tank advantage. They can push in here, and they can win this. They even brought more constant fire tanks, so as soon as this other TVP here from Astro is out, they basically have another tank that's completely out of the fight. They can ignore him, and his HP almost doesn't matter. They need to just kill these constant fire tanks. They're going to get some punish off on him, so that he's not a full health tank, especially being an autoloader who can get a second clip off. But now it's just cleanup, basically, as they're going to clean up Ham, and then they're going to rotate here over to Iceman.
Yep. I mean, the problem with doing what Tomino still did here is that you basically hand over the ball to the enemy and say, kind of come at us. And since they brought a heavier lineup with the more constant fire tanks, unless you have all your tanks there, which they did not have, the TVP basically fell off and trying to go and help with the RU, which surprisingly enough, Brock is still alive somehow. I mean, you just giving the ball to the enemy and well, you almost giving them the ball on just silver platinum, just letting them have the match to a certain degree, because you cannot stop that push with being that close. You need to get a bit of distance. You need to move your autoloaders towards the back so they can get off their entire clip and then reclip and get another clip off, or at least another clip off, so they are more effective.
I mean, Last Minute Iron, he just kind of ran away here to get themselves a free timeout. You either win World of Tanks by killing the entire enemy team, or by capturing either of the bases. And if there's one tank left upon the defensive side, then they can kind of go hide off in a little corner and sit there and drag out the match. One of the biggest things with Cliff that we didn't really comment on is overmatches. Overmatches is probably the biggest thing when it comes to World of Tanks. And it's especially so on a map like Cliff, where if you split yourself up, where they, for instance, had Last Minute Iron in his TVP fall on down, he was immediately out of that fight. They knew they had the one tank advantage, and that they knew that as soon as they got up in there, that Tomato Steelers were not getting out.
Yeah, looking at the damage stats here, yeah, not looking too good for Tomato Steelers on that one. Not surprising, because they bunched up a little bit too much, and then of course players started taking advantage of pushing straight into them. So Spaghetti Slappers though, fairly decent trade. Well, decent output from all the tanks that stayed alive, but besides the two STBs, which were the two to be focused out, with Baron picking up the most on their team.
Yep. I mean, over on the strat sketch, like, we don't even really have to ping out what happened there. Just the thing is more about putting distance between you and your enemy. Like, in that situation, they had the RU out of the fight. He was down here off in these buildings. He was doing a 1v1 with the other RU. The TVP fell down, and he shot it into this, so they knew that even if he had come up back around this way, he wasn't going to have shots. Or he wasn't like any kind of threat for the near future. And they got themselves so close that because they were dealing with an enemy lineup that had so much DPM, so much constant fire, that their autoloader, which only does 1280 damage in a single clip, like, he can't affect the battle fast enough to really make a big enough difference.
I mean, they can trade it. Whatever, even if they burst down one tank without that tank getting any damage out pushing around, they're still up one tank in firepower they can put on. That Spaghetti Slappers could put on Tomato Steelers. So either or, it was kind of a win-win situation for them. So
yep. I mean, in that situation, like, in my personal history, one of the worst things you can almost do in that situation is when the team goes two line is push yourself up so close, like they did. It's just almost too close in reality. You just can't really control the fight enough. You're almost putting it into the enemy's court because they know where you are. They can just push in. So it's better for the most part to put a lot of distance between you and your enemy, work down multiple angles, make it so that way. If they want to come and kill me, you have to drive across 200 meters of open ground where you're being shot from different angles, and then I'm in superior positions behind rocks and hard cover, so you're trying to sit there and put shots in on me, and you're probably not going to end up doing any damage, and then you've got another 200 meters to go for the next tank. It's just, you can make it a really bad day for the enemy. If you were to play further back.
Yeah, tank lineups here, though, we see Tomato is bringing a lighter lineup with 2 140s, 2 T22s, 2 TVPs, and are you going out towards the west, scouting it right away to see if the Spaghetti Slappers are going that way? They are bringing well, the exact same lineup they brought from the offense.
Yep. So that's the 113, Object 262 STVs, 2 T22s, and RU251. Now, would you take that bet so far? Spaghetti Slappers, they have brought the same lineup every single time. Do you think they will change going into the next one? Because I don't.
Yeah,
I'd
no,
say
I
it's
don't.
doubtful.
Yeah.
But the action so far has kicked off. Ooh, last minute iron. He's going to try and get up onto the hill, which is kind of a problem because that means he will be separating himself from his team in a way where if they do push over, he can't really support them very well. Like, he won't get off enough damage in the DVM fight. But once he is up here, if they actually allow him to be up here for an extended period of time, he will get off a lot of damage onto the 260 and the 113 that are off in the back.
He's trying to get angles on the two heavies sitting here and just trying to poke away.
Yeah.
Actually, it's working so far fairly good. I mean, he has a position sitting up high, so she had no issues really penning any of these two heavies.
Nope. I mean, generally in this situation where you have the tier 10 up there, I mean, they put themselves into a few different good defensive positions, and then Spaghetti Slappers played in a very defensive manner that made it so they can't really push out and be aggressive. Like, as soon as they see last minute iron, one of the better things to do in most situations is to push on, be aggressive with the enemy team.
Yeah, they're
But they
trying
weren't
to do
able to
that
do
though.
that because of
It's a
how far
tiny,
they
tiny
spread
bit too
themselves out.
late. I'd say. I mean, they're being aggressive here, but let's see how Tomatoes Steelers actually handles this.
Yeah. I mean, they're coming through, so they're gonna end up picking the tank count back up, back into their favor. But I don't know if it'll be enough. I think that the HP damage might have already been gone through, and now they're in a situation where they're just in a crossfire from every single angle. They've got a, I mean, Iceman, he's up close along with Tech. They can go chase him down fairly easily, but now you got 200 meters to drive over to kill the Law, and then you got 200 meters to driving up a hill to try and kill the last minute iron. Not really the positions you want to be in. And the damage is starting to come out. The tanks are starting to flip back to the side. Last minute iron, he's going to come off a clip here. He's going to get off another 1300 damage. And it's just going to be the end of this one here. Tomatoes are going to pick it up and bring the lead, or take the lead back. Or no, they had the lead.
They had the lead, but yeah, they
Slappers brought it 3-2, but now they're going to be up 4-2. So the winner of this game gets the chance to fight 07 in the relegation match. So they will be now on 2 match points after this year.
Pretty much. I mean, I don't know. Do you think Spaghetti Slappers might want to have picked up something else, or you just think that they are really comfortable with this lineup?
It can work. I mean, what we kind of saw there was the whole thing of whoever gets the high ground or not always the high ground, but the better positions off the start can generally end up having a big advantage because the 113 and even the Object 260 can be considered slow tanks for getting up and taking this middle. Teams generally end up bringing like Bat Chats, T22s, 140s, 907s, all the fast tier 10 medium tanks to this middle fight because you get to the high ground and to any of the important positions early on, and that just if the enemy team brings a slower lineup, then you get there and you shoot them first. But yeah,
that's kind of what happened. I mean, the latter TVP got up on the hill, and as you can see, he did a lot of damage. He more or less, with the damage up that he had there, he more or less gave them back the HP they were missing in the two heavies coming up from Spaghetti Slappers. Right then. That's a damage thingy. Do we want to go over anything on Strand Sketch?
I don't know, like, to say what happened there was both teams kind of played defensively, but Tomato Steelers were able to get up the hill. The hill is a pretty big thing if you can get up there. It's just once you're up there, you can actually struggle to put damage back down into a fight that's happening right at the base here. And
Oh, I don't have a strong scratch up because you didn't say anything. I don't even know if you're
Oh,
pinging. You want me to put it up?
oh,
Oh, I'll put it up.
sure.
I mean, the problem is that you let a TVP get up onto the hill. That basically means that your two heavies where they're sitting is, I mean, unless they know where the TVP is going to peak, so they can trade off with him, it is kind of a bad position, I'd say.
Yep. Well, I mean, they also kind of ran into the problem of uh, Tomato Steelers having like one tank there, the RU coming out to the side here, then they had the one tank up there, then they just had their other tanks like over here by the base. Actually, that one was working out that outside there, and like this is a situation where the enemy team kind of spread themselves out all over the place. They got one of their tanks up. If you were to be aggressive in the beginning, you can actually really deny the enemy any opportunity for getting a tank up the hill simply because of just how the different angles end up working.
I mean, it's problematic for them though if they bring those two heavies because if they are being so aggressive, I mean, it's easy to punish aggressiveness on this map too. So it kind of goes both ways. You don't want to be too aggressive because you can easily get punished. And by having those two heavies, there's a possibility if they get punished too hard, they cannot, of course, bring it back.
Yep. I mean, the 113, it has really nice speed. I think it's faster than the 260, but the 260, at least it was one of the fastest. I haven't compared the speeds in a little bit. Um, yeah, like this is just one of those situations where if you see the TVP going up the hill like this, like say one TVP off on its own, getting up onto the hill isn't necessarily a scary thing because if it gets one clip off, it doesn't necessarily matter. It's just once it starts getting off into 2 or 3 clips, that's when you really have to be careful. So in that situation, like when you have someone taking such an advantage, what you for the most part want to do is like get in here, kill these 3 tanks like they did in a really fast way. It's just then you have one tank here, one tank here, one tank here, one tank here.
Yep.
And they made it so that way if they were to derp in, like to say it was a good strat, simply it was a good strat coming out from Tomato Steelers because of how they ended up positioning themselves, and it worked out fairly well because of how Spaghetti Slappers played the game,
I
and they
mean,
were
they
able
were
to
kind
get
of
out a
forced
lot of
into
map
it.
control.
They couldn't just sit there and wait for the TVP to kill the two heavies. I mean, they kind of needed to do what they did. It's just that they took enough damage uh, moving up to the position or trying to take the positions that they needed to take to be
Well,
able
they
to turn
were
it around.
arguably forced into that position from their lineups. I mean, it took the TVP time to get up onto the hill. It's just they had the 113 and the 260 stopped. I mean,
Yep.
now they decided to bring a full medium lineup. So actually, I would have lost my bet there because we have different lineups finally
Yeah,
coming out from Spaghetti Slappers. 140, 2 STBs, 2 T22s TVP, and an RU251, where then coming out from Tomato Steelers is the 113, 140s T22, 2 TVPs, and an RU251.
so yeah, they're a little bit lighter lineup now then. Possibly wanted to change something to maybe throw off the balance of Tomato Steelers.
Yep. Well, I mean, they were kind of, to say, too slow to get into the middle. They kept their heavies back last game, and they kind of just gave up too much map control. And then when they were being worked down from too many different angles, they tried to be aggressive in order to take the fight, but it just didn't end up working out for them. Like, yeah, it was already too late with the lineups they brought. Cliff can be one of those maps where if you give up too much map control early on, you may not have taken too much damage or whatever, but if you have to sit there and travel, uh, like tanks across 200, 300 meters to try and push into the enemy, and you're taking shots the entire time. Like, it's a map that's so based around map control and different angles and stuff like that in the beginning.
We see a deep defense coming out from Tomato Steelers this time around, though. A little bit unusual, I'd say. Mostly because you can still use angles on most of these tanks to slowly work them down, as you can see on this 113 here.
Yeah, I mean, this is the green little triangle that we poked out before. You got one tank all the way off in the back, another tank up in another area. The 113, like, if Spaghetti Slappers knows the angles, like, you get one tank up onto the hill, you try and work off some control around the 2 line, maybe get someone over into E2, get your scout working down around B2, maybe have someone come up and try and working behind. come up the 9 line or whatever. Like, there's different ways you can approach this and work it down. And if they know what to do in this situation, they should be able to easily break this.
I think though that they should try and get either STB or one of the TVPs up onto the hill to take advantage of that additional angle. And
Yep.
that basically means this 113 in Iceman sitting over there. He needs either push forward or he needs to just drop off to the low ground.
Yep. I mean, I'm still kind of surprised that it's taken them this long to even think about putting someone up onto the hill. I mean, it's still not even coming through, and we're already through the first 2 minutes of the game. Like this, you need the full amount of time to slowly work down and make it look really nice and clean. I mean, if you know what you need to do, then you can make this look like a really pretty win.
It looks like they are actually going to push towards the east though, with half their tier 10 forces. I say the only other option would be to fall back and coming up and taking the fishmouth area over here, and then basically get another angle onto most of the tanks, so specifically Astrobob and his TVP sitting on top of the hill and start working him down and taking vision control after that. But it seems like they chose to go east instead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Astro's not going to get lit here, so he's going to start pushing up, and he's going to quickly identify that Getty Slappers aren't here anymore. They've made some kind of rotate off somewhere, and yeah, like they'll. I mean, honestly, I expect them to put Astro up on the hill, and he knows this. He's starting to make his way up there, so he's going to get up here. He's going to be in such a powerful position over the new positions that Spaghetti Slappers have taken over,
Yeah,
and yeah, it's. I mean, it's really starting to not look good for them. They should have pushed someone up onto the hill early on,
yeah,
because then you could have stopped this. Like, you really only need like one, maybe two tanks come around working out this side. If you have a bat chats are great for coming out here. They come out here, they get some quick punish off, and then they can run away. But now the teams have bat chats, so
doesn't look that the tomato stealers can see these two mediums hiding in the back though.
they haven't really made an attempt to so far. So this could end up working out, but it
Yeah, this
probably
is.
shouldn't, because the law. Yeah, he's gonna come out here. He's gonna get the one. Ooh, he missed his shot. Ooh, if they get enough punish off on him, and kill him before he goes down. Oh no, the one reset did come in.
Yeah,
Was it?
but he needs to sacrifice himself. This is not. This is turning, I would say, in the way of Spaghetti Slappers now. They are sacking tank also coming in here. He's gonna go down, and it
Yeah.
kind of seems like Tomato Steelers wants to push in on this. They're 3,000 HP down though at the moment, so this little
Yeah, the
gamble
Tomato
from
Stealers.
Spaghetti Slappers is actually working out so far.
You're kind of making me sit here and eat the words that I just said, but yeah, I
Well,
mean, taking back these angles, they can probably get the RU to come up and clean up Astro. Um, they failed to really make any kind of good aggression or like good counter push out here. They could have really used Dogman up and along these little divots on the back side of, or on the far side of the cliff, and they could have ended up getting vision, get some different shots in and whatnot.
mhm.
And yeah, I mean, right now it's working out. They still have 3 minutes, so they've been able to slow down and kind of deny the cap. If Spaghetti Slappers kind of pull, say, one or two tanks out, they can come back in, work down different angles. You can try and get Jess and his RU-251 up onto the hill and try and get this RU, or get this TVP out of the fight, but he's
Yep.
kind of just sitting back, trying to, I guess, work down the side of the E5 or something, but it's not killing the TVP on top of the hill.
Yeah, that is an issue. I mean, they could have sent RU up. It doesn't
They're going to make a
seem.
push,
Yeah,
and the TVP will probably get shots all up into their
in their
ass.
asses. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is yeah. I don't know. They need to make a
He,
push in. They need to kill what is in front of them really, really quick. They cannot leave this TVP up on the hill to get shots.
no, I mean, the push is coming out. They're getting the damage done now. And if they can get out Ham now, they'll be in a decent position. But, I mean, this TVP, he's still set here for getting another clip out. I think he's gotten a 4 or 5 up in this position without
RU
any
is
punish.
coming
But
up towards
now,
him though,
yeah,
and he goes down eventually.
Just now finally gets the clip off. And we will see Spaghetti Slapper staying alive for one more round.
Yeah,
They say there are mistakes coming out from both sides there. Like, it shouldn't have played out the way it did, but it did. So nothing like you can really say about that. They're just gonna get dumped 3 on cap. Last minute, he's gonna once again hide out here, try and not get found, just give his team time to prep themselves for this 8th game.
Yeah, I
But he
mean,
should be getting found. Like, Destroyer will end up finding him in his TVP. He can go head in this autoloader war, and he should end up coming out on top simply because last minute is one less shot for him.
shot. Yes. Yeah, really interesting. It's kind of a little bit haphazard from both sides. And as you can see on the screen now, Astro getting out a lot of shells.
Almost
And
20 shells
yeah,
out of that TVP.
I
So
mean, it's a 4-shot autoloader with about a, was it 20-second reload in between?
yeah, 22-second downtime. So
So I mean, all those shells, that's yeah, 17 shells. That's 4 clips. That is a lot of time you can sit up there and
that's
just
5 clips.
sit
He got
and
into his
reload.
5th. He
Yeah,
got into his 5th clip.
yeah,
He got killed halfway through it.
you don't see that
Something
every
that
day.
shouldn't really be happening.
Yeah, yeah. So nice play by Astro. I mean, he had a like almost a perfect position from what Spaghetti Slappers was trying to do. Do you want to go over a tiny bit to StatScat on this,
Yeah,
or right?
we can. I'm just double checking to see
StatScat
if they
is
need
up.
any lineup changes. Okay, so it's up, both of them. We don't have too long now before we go into the next one. Just quickly clean all this off. I mean, with the defense that the Tomato Steelers were running, they had one tank there, one there. Like one guy here, then one there, and then that's 6.
Very much, yeah. And are you?
Yeah, and then the scout down there. So from the offensive side, like they had all their tanks stacked up here before they kind of brought them out over this way here, which it can work. And it did just work. It's just not something that should have happened because you gave up so much map control. Like they had so many different angles on you. It shouldn't have happened. They should have, I mean, the cap got up to like 50 before they even tried making any kind of attempted reset. So they probably should have been bringing this person back in across here. When you're at the top of the hill, you didn't have to worry about anything. You could have just brought more tanks up into these buildings, and it would have been fine. But it turned into this really big mess going into the end there. But I mean, what you want to do is you want to, like as I said, get a tank boat over to here, get someone down in here, clean up this. Oh, the TVP is here. Well, all we have to do is get like 1 or 2 tanks, and then we're gonna kill this guy because we'll have the buildings. And then as long as we sit here and have this hill control, we'll sit here and we'll identify if they're trying to group up their tanks coming this way. We can get so many shots on them before they even come in. And yeah, it's like there's so many ways to
There's
sit there and try to punish that, especially if they would have just taken the hill, but they didn't.
yeah.
And then like so many different angles. Like the TVP, like this spot can work, but it's something that you kind of use, and then you dip out, you get yourself out of there before you get punished for it.
I mean, it does somewhat deny Hill a tiny bit. Having a TVP in there to clip out into something. I mean, it's decent. The problem is, of course, so that if you're trying to go aggressive somewhere on the map, he's in a kind of a bad position because it takes him a while to get out of that position.
Yeah, so we're gonna go into this next one here, and we're seeing, I think both teams switching over to medium tank lineups. Yes, so we're actually seeing a variety of lineups coming out.
A little bit more than what we're used to.
Yes, we get so used to this very stale thing of both teams bringing almost identical same lineups every single time on mine.
Oh
And
no,
now
no,
we're
no,
actually
no,
coming
no.
to
I mean, that's in Gold League. You're more used to these kind of lineups with all mediums.
yes. I mean, lineups
Vigorously
this time
pinging here from the law. As you can see
Okay,
on the
so
minimap on 1-2 line, actually.
and I think we're seeing some pinging coming out from Doomen over here. They might be going for a slower defense as well for this last time. So it could be interesting. Let's see how they come with, or Tomato Steelers comes with their approach. I mean, lineups wise, we have 1142 STVs, 2 T22s TVP, and an RU251 coming out for spaghetti slappers, and then 2 140s, 2 T22s, 2 TVPs, and an RU251 coming out for Tomato Steelers. So very similar lineups, just the 2 STBs, in comparison to the extra 140 in the TVP of Tomato Steelers. So we should see a nice fast-paced game. No, they're kind of all grouping up, heading over here towards the middle. But it looks like they're going to be putting themselves up in these back rocks, so it's going to be a similar defense to what we just saw. But once again, one of those more slight variants. Actually, no, they pulled up towards the middle, so I'm just going to ignore me there because both teams actually just went for the middle. Well,
Yeah, let's see
one
what
team.
Spaghetti
I
Slappers
can't
actually does
speak
here
words on
then,
hard.
if they play this better than what Tomato Steelers did last time. They are still a little bit too clumped up, in my opinion. They can actually get punished for this.
I feel like what they need to do is they need to get one of their T-22s out to A5, because once you're there, you can really punish the E3 corner. This corner over here, I don't know if you're showing it on your end.
I can do that.
But
This little corner here,
you
you
can,
can get shots from all the way up in A5 and be fairly safe.
there's like 2 or 3 different areas that you can set up in there that'll allow you to punish this entire area for the most part. For instance, the Law, where he's sitting right now in his T-22. If you had a tank all the way up there, you could be blind shotting the crap out of the Law. He would not even be able to sit right there. And then you can also end up hitting tanks. Like, you can hit Astro all the way
The
back
problem
from
now
there.
is also, though, as you can see here, Tank is sitting in a bush down by the one cap, and he's actually lighting the mediums up here. So Tomato Steelers at the moment know where most of Spaghetti Slappers are. Or at least 3 or 4 tanks at the moment. Maybe not now. They're actually getting a little bit better position.
I mean, this is kind of the play on how you want to counter it out. Although you do want to get at least one tank up towards like A5, another maybe around D5 or something like that. I mean, you have the RU-251 down in J6. He's down there. He's going to make sure that nothing can come up the ramp of J5, H5, and come up in through the south there. So that's good from him. Now they just need to maybe lock down some of these other angles, but also need to be able to make sure that if Tomato Steelers do try to be super aggressive here across the middle of the map with all of their tanks, then they can sit there, identify that push, and bring their tanks back together in time and get a lot of punish off on it. I mean, they're finally getting this rotate off, which is in pretty good timing because now the T-22 and the TVP are coming over here to try and work them down in this middle, and they'll be able to punish this really easily with the likes of Dooman and his 140 over here. Astro, he's going to get himself lit. He's going to be immediately get shot in the back by Dooman. And then you also have Barren Wasteland there to try and work down another angle as to where S-Ham is sitting in his Object 140 and where Dogsman is.
Yeah.
So I can't necessarily... How are the HP trades looking now? HP pools.
I mean, 1500 damage lead for Spaghetti Slappers, and actually getting a tiny bit better trade there again. Still, though, I don't know. I think this year to spread out a tiny bit more and try and just,
right
work
now
angles.
they're doing, right now they're doing a good job of holding all the different angles. I mean, this is the problem if you go 2-3 line on this map, especially in the attack defense format, is you're basically giving the enemy team in like all of the map control. They basically now can sit here and identify whenever you're making your pushes. They hold all the little different angles for getting all the little shots onto you. And if you want any kind of map control, you have to really fight in order to try and get it back. Now, heck, he is going to sit on this cap. Well, this cap's pretty easy to reset in reality. Just zoom in right now. He's getting punished by the tanks of S-Ham and Dogman. Oni-chan and his STV, he can get some punish back off on return. The cap, because it's only building at 1 point per second right now, they have still a minute and a bit in order to deal with getting the one reset shot that they need. So there's no real rush, no real cap pressure. That's the problem with just leaving one person on cap. You really need 2 if you want to threaten the enemy.
Yeah,
but the trades are coming
out. I mean, trades are coming out. They're more or less even now. A little bit up still for the middle cells, but about 500 damage. But I mean, that is just 2 shots in quick succession coming out on really anything.
Yeah, there's that one reset shot. They really didn't have to do much about it.
Yep.
And they didn't even really get punished for it. So
who was that? Was it from the RU in the middle? I'm guessing STB scouting.
No,
RU
recently? It was Dooman who got the kill there. And which? Okay, that was Gym Leader Surge who picked up the kill on the Law there. He's going to take some damage in return, but it's a pretty safe little corner for him to tuck up in there, and you won't get too much punish off, or you won't get punished too much.
Really close battle we see here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, right now, Astro's about to go down. The HP and tank lead is really just going to start to go into uh, Spaghetti Slapper's favor, and they could end up picking this up. But it looks like we're going to see a counter push here coming out along the F line,
Yeah, I
and they're
actually
going to
like
try and
this. They need to do
yeah,
this. If they can get up and kill these two tanks in the middle here, they're in a really, really good spot because they cannot get punished from all the tanks sitting in the north at the moment. They're
yeah.
probably going to lose
Now,
Astro plus Tech for this, though, so it's still going to be an equal trade. Not in HP, but tank-wise it is.
uh, I don't know, Spaghetti Slappers, they did the right job there. Their players actually got out of the way of the push. They didn't sit there, stay up in the rocks, and try and just put shots out. I mean,
Yep.
Gym Leader Surge, he goes down in his STB1, but the tank lead, it's still one tank up for Spaghetti Slappers at this time. Two now. And I don't know, I really think that Spaghetti Slappers have this, if they just sit back, kind of control the angles that they're currently working. If Morius gets
Yep.
the kill on SM in his 140, this is really just going to be little finish off to this game as Spaghetti Slappers pull their tanks back together and just finish up these last remaining tanks.
Yeah, I mean, that is the problem with trying to take West control on this map.
Yep.
You don't really have that much actual control of the map because everywhere you're pushing is most likely going to be late fairly early, and you have the issue with shooting on tanks that you're trying to shoot on tanks that sit in above you with most of their hull covered. So
Okay, now we have to sit here and do the math because both teams pretty sure won one round. Details. Let me sit here and just do the math because I should have been writing this down as we went along. We
yeah,
had
well, you're the admin of this stuff. Anyway, damage-wise, a nice spread of damage actually coming out from Spirit Slappers. Everyone more or less putting their fair share of damage into the pool and taking down the Meta Steelers. Um, yeah, decent enough defense for them to actually pick up the win. And yeah,
well, we have overtime on our hands.
overtime, tiebreaker.
Yeah, so that's one. Okay, so there's that setup, and then just sitting here doing math.
What is it? Is
Spaghetti
it
Slappers,
the
they
win?
won their first attacking round with a time.
So is it the same as in Gold League? Is the quicking attack the quickest attack? No, the quickest
Yeah,
attack win? I guess it is.
and
That has
then
to choose.
they were defeated on the defense with a time of 3:36. Ooh,
I mean, that should hopefully be the quickest one, right? Combines, I'm guessing. Looking. Yeah, so we're basically just going over all the matches now to see which one
yeah.
has the quickest time out of the attacking sides. Or the attacking side wins, I
Yeah,
guess.
so they choose defense.
Who? Who got the
Spaghetti Slappers. Spaghetti Slappers, they had the choice, or they had the pick for whether they're going to be attacking or defending with the fastest attack of 322 on Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And they chose defense, so that means Tomato Steelers, they're going to be back on the attack. And this is the map they picked before.
Yeah. I mean, they did win one from the attacking side, so I don't think they dislike the attacking side. I mean, this was their pick in the map poll, so I don't think they care which side they are on. They like I said before, I think they feel somewhat comfortable on this map. So just going into this for the way that the maps actually went, I mean, I'd give an advantage at the moment um, to Tomato Steelers.
Yeah, I'd say advantage to them, but you also have to realize that after those past few games there, where Space Slappers kind of had I was gonna say cleaner victories. I mean, some of them were slightly messy, but they really pulled it together there on Cliff, and they're able to pull it back. So
Yeah,
the momentum's in their favor
yeah, the
right
momentum
now.
definitely in Spaghetti's favor, but I mean, you should be able to just clear and reset, hopefully, for this, since it is actually um, somewhat of an important match. I mean, you have the possibility of getting into gold league. You still need to defeat what I would say, a fairly decent team in '07, or more than decent, to
Oh
be
yeah,
honest.
07, they were really one of those strong teams. They went long with just about every single one of the top teams out there. Like, I believe they went 5-4 with High Water Squallers. They went long with Noble. They went long with Sam. All those top teams. Well, they weren't just like they weren't able to find the wins, and they unfortunately found themselves at the end of the season in 8th place. No, 7th place. Yeah. So both teams, their lineups are ready. We're just waiting on the last one to confirm that they're ready, and then we're gonna go in here.
Hmm. Do we see any? Actually, I guess we could wait with that until we actually load into the game. Well, I mean, you can see it on the screen now, but still, we start talking about
Wait,
it.
wait till you nice, pretty
Yeah,
icons on your screen for us to
yeah,
tell you what the lineups are.
yeah.
Because Spaghetti Slappers, they didn't change. They went back to their bread and butter, what was partially working for them of the 113 Object 260, two 140s, two
Yeah, I do
T22s,
believe
and the
someone in
251.
chat said that it was called Comp One, most likely. I don't know. It was somewhere in there. I'm pretty sure it was someone from
With
Spaghetti Slappers. I mean,
with comp 1, you're implying that there are other compositions. So far, we are yet to see that. So
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, you could have just called it. I mean, the composition or just comp. I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, coming up from Tomato Steelers here on the offense, this time they're bringing two E5s, two T22s, two TVPs, and the RU251. Now, surprisingly, this time, Tomato Steelers, they're actually going to head up for hill control. They're getting the one T22 up into nice defensive positions. Actually, they're not going for hill control,
They're
they're
going
going
for
for
a punish.
punishing.
Yeah, this
Yes.
is a little bit harder though from this side because you are the angles are a little bit uh, worse. You're shooting on the upper part of the hull plus turrets on whatever tanks are coming up here. Doesn't look like
Yeah.
anyone actually want to take control over this hill though at the
No, but the
moment.
113 and the Dooman and his Object 260, they're going to push into the low ground here. They're going to push further up into what we had of Orange 2, if you even remember that. And
Yeah, so I'm
uh,
gonna start trading with E5s here. Getting one shot in there
yeah,
here. It's pretty nice.
yeah, the 113 it can do pretty well with its 340 heat pen. Like that's good enough amount of penetration for dealing with the cupola of the E5, but the 113's turret isn't actually that strong. Um, if you go and look at it, it's really it has a lot of flat angles on it in comparison to some of the other Russian tanks, just because of how big the turret is for the spherical shape. It a lot more elongated, a lot bigger and taller in certain places, and just some of the angles just aren't as sharp as what the other Russian tanks had.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
we've seen the trade-offs here though. Tomato still is not getting the trade-off that they want. Maybe they want to try and actually do something else here because it seems like, well, no, the Spaghetti Slappers are actually better at this poke and prod game than what Tomato Steelers are.
yeah.
So Tomato Steelers, like I said, are,
Oh, you
are
know what? I
losing
think there
this.
was actually a DC at some point because Law, yeah, there was a DC. Law ended up DCing there. He had a power problem earlier and ended up dropping. But
That
right there,
is that
that's
is
that's
really
pretty big.
unfortunate.
And also Tech losing the HP trade. I mean, I saw it earlier, failed to make a comment on it, but Tech took some punishment when he tried shooting Destroyer and Dooman in the Object 260 in the side, and they ended up getting
Hmm.
a good chunk of damage in return on him. So Baron Wasteland, he has control over the one line there.
Destroyer peeking and prodding over this hill though really putting some
Yep.
punishment into the E5s. It
Well,
looks like,
now
yeah,
they've pushed them so far back that Oni-chan's now in a good position for coming up onto this hill, getting a lot of more punish off. And I feel the HP is probably more into Spaghetti Slapper's side right now, with a good chunk because of the DC and with how the trades have been going. I mean, they're going to have to try and do something. They're in a pretty bad spot right now. They don't really have good control over these different angles. But Baron Wasteland, ooh, he's gonna get deleted here.
Hmm?
Ooh, he came really close. One more shell had connected on him. Like, Tech now has the advantage for almost pushing across, but it looks like Newman, he's going to be watching for. He's waiting for any chance he can to sit there and punish Tech and give Baron Wasteland some breathing room over on that side. If they don't sit there and watch it, it's very easy for Tech just to get up over there and finish him off.
Yeah, I mean, now Tomato Studios are in the same kind of situation they were on the, I do believe it was their first attack. Oh,
Yep.
yeah, first attack on this map. They are down a lot in HP. They do not have control over the hill, like at all. Um, and they don't have too much vision of the enemy at the moment.
Yep. But right now it looks like they're setting up just for playing a much more passive game. They're gonna sit there, see if Spaghetti Slappers will do any kind of bad poking, take some bad trades, give up some of that HP, and give Tomato Steelers a window back into this game. I mean, they do have the advantage over in Scouts. So they can definitely work around the outsides of the map a little bit better. But with the HP and the tank lead that Spaghetti Slappers have, it's almost impossible for Tomato Steelers to take a head-on fight at this moment in time.
Yeah. Sad enough that this actually a good match between these two teams actually
Yep, I mean,
somewhat get decided by a DC on one of them.
yep. I mean, I can only assume it was a DC. There's no reason for the Law to be sitting in the position where he was, and then he ended up
Yeah.
taking about 3 shots without moving his turret or his hull in any way, shape, or form. So I can only, unfortunately, assume that he did end up running into a DC there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they are working it back a tiny bit here though with the E5s and everything, doing a little bit of trading here. Still 3,000 damage, a little bit more than 3,000 damage now, 4,000 damage more or less down.
I
They
actually
did.
feel, I was going to say, I
Hmm?
feel really bad for the Law here because it's one of those things where when you have a DC in a situation like this is your chance for moving on, for having a chance at playing off in Gold League and getting paid to play tanks. Oh, I failed to notice here, but both tier 8s did go down.
Yep.
So,
I mean, any trade for tanks here now is actually better for Tomato Steelers, but still not looking good. Still the
yeah.
4,000 HP in lead for Spaghetti Slappers, and
Yeah, no,
also
they're
more
going
or
to
less the same positions.
try and get Iceman to sit here and doing a rotation down along the 9 line, which I don't know if Oni-chan ended up lighting. I mean, he was moving his turret with the same, or like he generally had them in the same direction that Iceman was, so he might have been lit
Yeah, he
before
probably was
Oni-chan
lit.
pulled out. Yeah, and
And
there he would have lit Iceman there, so uh, the guns are starting to turn their way over towards this. If they end up lighting Iceman and Astro as they make this cross, there could be a good bit of punish coming out. Only one shot landing onto Astro there. But shots now coming in from Oni-chan over on the back of the hill. If he pokes out a little bit, Last Minute Iron might be able to catch him out, and that'd be a good pick-off with the TVP. It can actually make punishing the enemy team fairly easy there. But one tank does go down. That's Astro and his TVP. He's going to go down to Morgus there in his T22. And they push up with the E5s. This is a last real attempt here from Tomato Steelers to try and work themselves into this game, and they unfortunately fail with that. And congrats to Spaghetti Slappers as they are going to win this. They brought it back from a 3-1 deficit to winning 5-4 in overtime.
yeah, really nice play from them. Like I said though, unfortunate that it had to end the way it did, but yeah, it happens sometimes. Nothing much you can really do about it.
Nope. I will state that in order to call it a DC, no one on any team must be spotted. So as long, I mean, it's unfortunate that happened, like early on into the fighting, just after tanks had been spotted. If it had happened to say 30 seconds sooner,
Do you think
Like we could have gotten a reset off, but
Do you think we can get anyone from Spaghetti Slappers on here?
okay.
Or
Yeah.
maybe the
Give me one
entire team?
second.
I mean, you can ask them. Type everything into the training room, which I will not open. Anyways, though, damage-wise, yet again, Spaghetti Slappers, most of the team helping with the damage. As you can see, the law here, shooting ones, that most likely DCing. So, really, really sad that it happened this way, but congratulations anyway to Spaghetti Slappers. They are going to be up against 07 here sometime.
Yeah, it
Hopefully
should
sooner than
probably
later.
be happening in, I'd say, any like 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, we will do that.
You getting any?
Yeah, I think someone's going to be coming over.
Baits? All right. See if we can get somewhat of a, I don't know, lighthearted interview or something like that going. And a gym leader might appear. See if he puts himself down here.
Yeah, so they're going to come down.
User joined your channel.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys don't need permissions. I was just
joined
about
your
to poke one of
channel.
you guys.
Just
User joined
move
your
down.
channel.
Yeah.
Just gonna poke you.
User joined your channel.
Right, well, anyway, I guess congratulations is in order. Like we said before, though, it looks like the law, and I'm guessing that you guys also kind of recognized that eventually, that he actually most likely DC'd. And like we mentioned many times here, I mean, it's sad. It has to go down that way, but there's nothing you can do about it. You know, shit happens.
Right. Yeah, we have the same storm here, and one of our players hasn't been able to play all week due to connection problems. Such is the way of life.
Indeed it is.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, congrats. You guys now get the chance of getting into Gold League. You just have to beat 07. Any thoughts on that? You now have to beat one of the, I'd say one of the better teams that took basically your top 4 right now to almost overtime every single time.
Well, I plan on gifting Commodore European Truck Driver Simulator on Steam, and that'll probably keep him tied up for the next month or so he probably won't make it to the game. So yeah, that's our strat against 07, is maybe keep Commodore away from World of Tanks.
So basically manipulating them into not showing
up. Yeah. And maybe beating Vitroxity's record in Halo. Maybe that'll keep him busy.
Yeah, I heard that one of the best things you can do is you want to try and push the match for an early time. Apparently 8 p.m. Eastern sucks for them, so 5 p.m. Pacific. If you can get your match happening nice and early, apparently there's a chance that they might not have enough people.
Hey, that's a good strat too.
Gold League is an inside job.
Yep.
Yeah, any general thoughts about the match? How you think the other team played, maybe, or anything?
They played well. We were really sloppy early on, with positioning and stuff like that. But yeah, they fought really well. It was fun. It was a little stressful trying to make that comeback.
Yeah,
just
was
keep
it
it suspenseful. Just to make it good.
Yeah, and I tried to add a little flair at the end of that tiebreaker match there. I don't know if you guys caught that or not. The last kill.
Did you jump off the hill or something like that?
I jumped off the hill and shot him in midair.
I mean, it was caught on camera just in the background. I was thinking about mentioning it, but yeah.
Did it for the viewers?
Yeah, those 67 HP.
Do it for the Vine.
Oh yeah.
Do it for the Vine. Yeah, overall, I think they were just excellent fights, always close, and it really came down to the wire there.
Yeah, Cliff was extremely interesting there, especially with how some of those rounds played out.
Yeah, that second. Oh wait, no, it was the first. That
It was their your guys' like second attack or whatever, where you went up and behind the mountain, and they had the Astro up on the hill. Like, he got off like 5 clips, and we're sitting there going like, you should have the RU-251 go up and kill him. You should have like the RU-251 go up and kill him.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
our
was.
He got off like he was getting into his 5th clip, and the entire time we're just sitting there staring at it, going, 5 clips, yeah.
Yeah, the thought process there was like we were kind of expecting, or at least I was when I was calling the match, expecting a push, like a counterattack, before we get into position, and I just wanted the RU there, able to get shots as they cross. And obviously it never happened, so it was a bit of a miscall on my part. But yeah, in the end, he went up and killed the TVP on the hill, so a little bit of justice there.
I was complaining about it the entire time.
He was. Yeah.
What about
it's just
the
gonna be-
There's good
About
reason
the
to
TVP
complain.
on the hill.
Yeah.
He needs to die. Stop feeding TVPs, because that's pretty
Yeah.
much what we did the entire series, was fed their TVPs damage so they could pad their stats.
Yeah.
Silver League Fantasy.
Yeah, dance. Where is that? I mean, maybe you have to bribe someone to get it. I mean,
Yeah, Silver League Fantasy.
I'd be down for that.
yeah. I mean, why not? I mean,
Yeah, then the
even
Gold
more.
League players can get the chance to win some prizes, since they can't win prizes for Gold League Fantasy. Silver League Fantasy.
Oh, you know, people will still complain that they'll say something like, "Oh yeah, you guys have some kind of advantage, even though you don't know the teams."
Right.
What, for Gold League prizes?
No, if there was a Silver League Fantasy.
Yeah.
Well, people are always going to complain about that. Whatever they can complain about.
They're just jealous of my dank fantasy picks.
Right.
I got 2 Type 59s out of it.
Well, that is actually somewhat impressive, I guess.
Yeah. Silver
Yeah.
League's the way to go, boys.
I
All
sat
about
there
that silver.
and I like initially I was like, "Oh yeah, you know, let's do fantasy," and then I sat there and looked at the rules. I'm like, "Oh well, it's over for me."
Yeah.
Didn't get anything.
You don't get any prizes. It's not worth the effort.
Yep.
Well, I mean,
There
if
we
you
go.
like
The
doing
stream
it.
just saw your shot in midair.
Yep. Worth.
Nice.
It felt a little cooler than it looked.
Well, isn't it always? Or
Yeah,
doesn't it
I
always?
guess.
Alright, then do we know what happened
Oh.
in the other battle? I mean, not that it matters too much, but
I believe
believe
NV
NV
won.
in
Oh.
overtime.
alright then. I
Yes,
guess.
well, that makes for an interesting top few teams. Like how the standings changed with Danger Close coming. What was that? Fifth.
They were in second, and then ended up in 5th or whatever. Yeah, we did some roster changes towards the end of the season that really made a huge difference for us, and we started cleaning things up a bit.
That's always good. I mean, it can be a negative thing doing roster changes because you have new people coming in that is not really might not be used to the callers calling or the way the team usually handles certain situations.
Yeah, fortunately, I brought in 2 former clanmates, so we already had some like chemistry there.
And we switched out. I think it was 2 players per roster change, every roster change this season too. And
Yeah,
we
every
got
roster change.
Lefty and Mori on the team. Like, they already knew what they were doing in a team setting, so it really added to what we were trying to accomplish.
Yep. Oh, it looks like the other stream's already over. So
Yeah, that's for the one that goes the longest this time around then.
yep. And I think we even had mines and steps, two of the faster, or not steps, fast. Cliff.
Yeah. You guys really took your time though on Cliff, as those were all fairly long matches, besides one, I guess. But
Yeah, normally Cliff goes pretty fast. Especially our second attack, it took a lot longer than what we normally see.
yeah, but
I
why
think that
so
was
many
just-
heavies though? I don't know. I can
well,
understand the 113, but the 260.
Normally, how it works is teams like to play the left side of the hill from, if you're looking at it from the attack. And we figured out, if we leave a couple tanks back there, they can't really swing around without getting punished too much. And unfortunately for our first defense, that's not what they did, and that kind of bit us in the butt. But we were just kind of trying to out-meta the meta, really. And it worked well in the regular season because teams would swing out wide and just get farmed by the two heavy tanks. And the 113 and the 260 are somewhat fast enough to get across if they need to. And the 260 can play the corner a little bit more than the 113.
Yeah, I mean, still though, you can commit onto it and just kind of buzz it down with the medium. So I'd still say it's kind of questionable.
Yeah, definitely. For like what they did is never gonna work. Because you just get farmed from the hill. Which is why we changed up our second defense. But it's just one of those things where it's either gonna go very well or very poorly. And based on how the regular season was going, we just stuck with it.
Yeah. I don't think we have to drag it out much longer, though.
Nope.
Congratulations on an order again. And I guess the next stream that goes up is the finals this weekend, right?
Yep, the finals this weekend, and then I can only assume that in probably 2 to 3 weeks' time, you guys will be doing your.
I believe it's
Legation.
March 3rd. March 3rd.
Yeah, so there you go.
March
You
3rd.
guys get to compete with was it Counthouse or
07.
whatever with the CS:GO Worlds? Wait.
What?
For viewership.
We will get
Yeah.
more viewers than CS:GO. I'm
Well,
96%
you also have
sure.
of course, Shanghai Majors going off. I don't know if it's going to be that. What is going to be that long?
Oh please, we'll call up all of our friends to tell them to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Even if they don't like the game.
Yeah, just tell them, just take all your electronic devices, just turn them onto this. You don't have to watch this, but just leave them on so we get more viewers. That is most likely they're going to be over on the WGLNA stream with Nagatron and Toma.
Because it's one game, I actually don't think it'll end up being streamed.
Oh.
Oh, Riot. About to send in 20 emails requesting it streamed.
Well, maybe we can stream it then, or maybe, I don't know, Incheon want to do it. I guess that is kind of a question for Dunstan.
There's also the Silver League Pro Bowl that Incheon's going to be streaming.
I was gonna say he gets Pro Bowl, he gets the finals. We should get the relegation match.
Oh well.
It. I'm making a joke there. Because it's like the second place prize for. Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, he's been doing this longer than we have, so I have no problem with him getting that. And I do believe it was even him getting the ball rolling on the Pro Bowl for the Silver League, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. But all right then, that should be it. No idea when we're going to be back, or if we are even going to be back. I mean, Silver League will start up eventually.
But then again, if you're doing League, you're gonna have so many practice days that just Silver League's on the same days that you generally do practice, so it's doubtful. We might be back next season. Depends.
We don't practice.
What is practicing?
Giving up all your secrets is not a good thing. I mean, there's spies in the Twitch chat right now
If
from
we don't
07.
know our
So
strats, the enemy will not know our strats.
Exactly.
Right.
They
We
cannot
just
predict
press
us.
W.
It's not about that. It's what you have to make Silver League actually look competitive and
Oh,
serious.
Oh,
it is.
it's very competitive.
We still try.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong. Just can't let our strats being leaked early.
Yeah. Keep them under wraps.
Yeah, our plan is any match that gets streamed, we just press W onto victory. But any other day we'll run a strat.
I mean, that might work.
Yep.
I wouldn't suggest it though to anyone listening trying to get into any league play. That is probably not the way I would take on it. But
yeah, like it works so well for us. Like we've been playing World of Tanks together for 3-4 years now, so we just kind of naturally know what to do, and do it at the same time together naturally.
And sometimes it doesn't work and it goes terribly wrong, so there's also that part. So you probably should practice.
Yeah, I mean, it does explain our regular season standings.
Right.
and yeah, I don't
Yep.
know why you changed the name down here, Baron, but people cannot see it. So in any case, yes, that's
Yeah,
going to
no.
be us. Unless Final has something to say.
I was just gonna say we like really got nothing else to talk about. We're just going on and on and on about random stuff at this point, and that's probably gonna be us signing off.
Yep.
As
Thanks,
it is.
guys.
Thanks.
User
It was
disconnected
a pleasure
from your
streaming,
channel.
and I guess we'll see you
User
when you see you
disconnected from
next
your
time.
channel. User
Bye-bye.
disconnected from your channel.